I'm letting you see my face today. I'm trying to get a little bit more used to having my face on camera for the tutorials, so we'll see how it goes. Also, I apologize for the state of my office. This is the transition between full-time bridal designer and putting all the things together for my kits and my classes, and it's a work in progress. Yeah, I can't, anyway, let's just blow past it. So today we're gonna focus on bows, all the different kinds of bows. Let's just put bows on everything. We'll be tying a bow. I'll be showing you how to stitch a bow so it just looks perfect all the time and never comes undone. And I'll introduce you to the magic of horsehair because they make pretty good bows. And also our little bow bag out of scuba knit. And I think that's gonna be really fun. So let's get started. Okay, so our first bow, we're gonna tie it around this thread cone so that, this is assuming that you're tying it around something, like maybe your sister's wedding gown. And my first piece of advice is always use a longer ribbon than you think you need, because you'll be surprised how much ribbon is taken up by bows. And my second piece of advice is have this side longer than your other side, because you're going to use more of this in the tying of the bow. And this is the right-handed version. I will post a video of the left-handed version. But for the right-handed version, this is what we're doing here. So with this side longer than this side, I'm just going to do a loose bow, or a loose knot like this. Just standard like that. And then from here, all right, smooth this out as much as you can. And then I'm just going to use my thumb. See what I'm doing? I'm just going to take my thumb here and go across there. This is the first loop of our bow. And then with this tail piece here, you're going to go up and around. Like that. Okay? And then very carefully, we're going to tuck this part through this loop here and pull both of these. Now at this point, you can see that you have a bow, but it's very loose and very messy. But this is where the patience comes in, because from this loose, messy bow, this is where all our finesse gets developed, because we will use our fingers to shape our bow into our perfect bow. So when you pull the back of your loops here, that's what's going to tighten your middle part. And then you twist these to stick out better. Honestly, every time I do this and I'm not recording, the bow turns out so perfect. And then when I am recording, it wants to be a fuss pot. Now, in terms of how to finish the edges of this, I'll show you that as well. We would just take scissors and a lighter and just trim this so that the frayed part isn't there. And then trim this one to match. And then to make sure that it doesn't fray anymore. Now be careful with this step. You might want to practice with one of your offcuts. You just want to take the lighter very gently to the edge so that it just sort of sears the edge of it that way. Again, maybe practice, because you definitely don't want to lose all the hard work you've put in so far. There we go. Boom. Tied bow. Next, stitching a bow. So I get kind of fussy when it comes to my bridal gowns, and I have an absolutely inappropriate sense of ownership over the dresses that I send out into the world, which I admit is pretty uncool. So I will ask my clients often if they know someone who is good at bows, and if they say no, which, you know, half the time they're just like, oh yeah, no, I totally know, like, so-and-so is going to be great at this, she'll do a great job. Then I have no problem letting that dress go with the bride, and then that person can tie the bow behind their back and I'm good. Because remember, everyone's going to be staring at your back, right? You want the bow to look perfect. I want the bow to look perfect. But if the bride says, she seems really unconfident, or she doesn't know anybody who can work that way, then what I will do is I will cheat. Okay, bow 2, how to cheat. This is what I will do for brides who don't think they have someone who can help them tie their bow, or for anything that needs a bow that doesn't need to be tied around something. We have a ribbon, and we could use a pin or two. So we know how big we want our bow to be. I'm going to make it about the same size as the other one. Stick a pin there. Like, you can probably see where this is going. Actually, I want this a little bit bigger. Sorry, just to have you be able to follow along. I've got this there, and I just folded this here, like that. And I'm going to fold this way, like that. And put my pin there. And I'm going to trim so that this is even, like that. And then I'm just going to run a stitch with my machine right across there. Okay, so we've run our stitch through our ribbon. Now, next step is we're going to take a thread and needle, and we're just going to pinch our ribbon like that, just like that. And we take our thread and needle and we just do a couple quick stitches to hold that in place. Okay, so I have my offcut here. I'm going to fold this in half, and then I want the wider part to be in the front. So I need to put the stitch here. Okay, so I'm going to stitch this here quickly with my machine. I'm using my industrial sewing machine. That's what that sound is. I'm sorry, it's really noisy. So I put my little stitch there, and I'm going to trim this down. And just to make sure it doesn't fray too much, I'm just going to sear these edges a bit, just to keep them in place. All right. And I'm going to turn this inside out. There we go, like that. Perfect. And then I'm going to slide the rest of my ribbon through here. There we go. Boom. Looks nice on the back. And there we go. Oh, also the secret too, I was telling you guys, telling y'all if brides, they didn't have anyone to tie their bows for them. What I would do is I would put the ribbon around the dress and then tack it in place. And then I would put the bow, it would just be like stitched to the side of the top of the zip, and there would be a snap on this side so that it would be snapped onto the back of the dress, but it would look like it was tied. All she had to do to unzip it was pull it off and then unzip. So it was a good trick to make sure that everything stayed perfectly in place. Okay, so next one is horsehair. For those of you who are new to this material, this is horsehair. If you can see, it's like a synthetic netting, and designers use it for a lot of things. There are so many things that this is good for. I used it most recently in a wedding gown, in the hem of the wedding gown, to like give that lovely ripple effect. I'll include a picture of that so you can understand what I'm talking about. Another thing it gets used for, I used it for that dress, which is why I have all of this white, but this comes in all kinds of colors, and milliners like to use it because it just has such beautiful dimension to it. You can twist it into all kinds of shapes, and I'm sure you guys have seen fascinators that are like weird things. And when I was doing some research for bows for this tutorial, I saw shoes that had big horsehair bows on them. So basically, I'll take you through. It's exactly the same as this. It's just in horsehair, and then you can just like have fancy looking Jimmy Choo looking shoes. Okay, so I've made my tack there. This stuff is really springy and stiff, which is why it's great, but also makes it mildly irritating to work with if you're trying to do stuff like this. There we go, that's what I wanted. Okay, knotted. There we go. And these bows would look totally badass on the back of a pair of heels.